So it has been about half an hour and the heat has dissipated, so I think it's done its bit of curing and stabilizing here. So what I'm going to do is I will peel off this expansion barrier and do a little bit of rough cutting, and then I will put him in my baking chamber. So that he can be baked for about 4 hours, because given the thickness of the target and the amount of foam that was used, I need to bake it pretty well so that the consistency is good and the hardness, and it's cured and baked right to the core. So I'm removing the staples from my expansion barrier. And again, I used 10 cups of part B and 5 cups of part A to get the right amount of foam to fill up the cavity entirely and expand right to the edges of the cored out cavity, because that will greatly assist me when it comes time to be grinding and shaping, so that there's no gaps in the target. Because when you have gaps in the target, it gives you a little bit of heartache when you're trying to finish it, because then it doesn't look as good, doesn't stand up as good, and it's not as strong. So get all these staples out. And the poly will just peel away from the barrier. See that? See how nice that is? That's why I give the target at least half an hour after it's been covered over like this to set. Because if you don't give it the right amount of time to set after it's been poured in, it's going to be a little bit soupy taking away, and it doesn't do initial curing and setting as well. This is nice and hard. The density is already pretty good. The baking chamber, 4 hours in the baking chamber will give it really, really good consistency. Just about got all the staples out. I think that's all the staples. Nope, there's more staples over here. There, now all the staples are out. So I'm going to cut away this part in the expansion hole. And the density here is actually very good, very good. So I'm peeling away the poly from this part. And as you can see, it has covered right to the edges. So when it comes to the amount of foam required, I got lucky that this was exactly the right amount, because I was going to go with an 8 and 4 mixture, but if I had gone 8 and 4 mixture, it would not have been enough. So with the 10 and 5, it is just the right amount. So again, this side, I'm going to rough cut a little bit. And just sideways cutting to expose as much of the foam surface. And yeah, the expansion has been good. The amount of time in the baking chamber will make the consistency much, much better. Because right now, it's a little bit soft, but it will harden once it's been in the baking chamber for the 4 hours that I figure it needs. As I'm cutting here, I can tell the amount of heat that is trapped in here, which is a good thing. Yeah, this is good. It has filled in and expanded nicely. It's a little powdery. So the ratio might not have been just perfect, but once it's baked, it will harden up. When it comes to doing these repairs, give yourself as much time as you possibly can, because if you are rushed, things may not turn out all that well. So this is to the point of rough cutting where the space heater will penetrate enough there. That's good bondable surface there. So I'm going to flip him over, and now I will get rid of the backstop on the other side now that it has hardened somewhat. And as you can see, there's very, very little bleed through from the backstop, which is a very good thing. It means it was set in place properly and secured properly. And it's nice and dense back here. The more you do these repairs, the better you're going to be at it. Obviously, practice makes perfect. And part of the reason I'm doing these videos is so that anyone who's wanting to do this can look at my videos and listen to my narrative and hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls that comes with this type of repair that I have experienced. As you can see, because of this little bit of bleed, it means the barrier was put in place very well. So it's very strong, because there have been times in the past when the backstop was not put in very well, and it resulted in too much foam bleed on the bottom. And when you're coring out a target from side to side, coring them out, it's very important that you do this in one batch of foam so that you have the exact same consistency front to back. Some of the older targets, like an older moose or an older buffalo, I have been able to do just one side because of the thickness of the target. I have repaired an older buffalo target now 3 times, and each time I've had to go a little deeper with the repair. And when he's to be repaired again in about a year, maybe a year, I may have to core him through and through. Depends on what I find at the core when I get down there. Yes, this is quite good. This is quite good. I'm quite happy with this. The expansion was good. The ratio was good. The amount of prep work seems to have worked out just fine. Yeah, just like most things, better to be over-prepared and not surprised rather than be under-prepared and surprised. Surprises are overrated. And the amount of time and effort I put into these is partly because I am kind of a nitpicker. Actually, I'm a 5th level nitpicker, as my family and colleagues will attest to. But I don't like doing things halfway, so I try not to. Yes, this expansion ratio is quite nice. And like I say, the more you do this, the more you learn what really works and what doesn't, and what pitfalls you may encounter and how to avoid them. But remember, this type of work done on a volunteer basis saves our club a ton of money, so we can invest it in other things like newer targets from some other sources. We can invest it in capital projects. We can invest it in increasing our media presence. And plus, you're not trying to sell used up targets once or twice a year at some of your shoots just to get rid of them. Because you hate to throw out something that's still usable. Our club does, we auction off targets maybe once every 2 years at our last shoot of the season. And because of my work with target repair, we haven't had to sell that many. And plus, these repaired targets stand up quite well in the dry environment of our indoor range. That is a rented building, so we cannot control the humidity because targets dry out in a non-humid environment. And this repair foam I use actually stands up quite nicely to the drier environment at indoor. Okay. We're peeling up. So get rid of the duct tape. Off of my end cap here. All this prep work was worth it because I think the finished product is going to be quite good. And the biggest thing with a finished product like this is, you know, how well did you do the repair and how much does it look like a repair? And I don't want my repairs to look too much like a repair. I want them to be as close to factory as possible. And if you have seen my videos on that Timberwolf repair that I did and filmed, you'll see what I mean. And I am more than happy to share this method with anyone and everyone who wants to take on repairing 3D targets. Because it saves clubs money. And with the price of targets and the price of inserts these days, the more money a club can save by not having to buy new big targets, the better off they're going to be long term. So this is coming off. And once I take off this barrier entirely, there will be a expanded repair or expanded foam in the shape of this end cap. And then I will rough cut that to where I figure it needs to be before I start the baking process. Duct tape. There we go. So the end cap is ready to come off. As you can see, there's expanded foam, nice and dense, in exactly the shape of the end cap, just like it should be. And there's a little bit of foam on the inside of the end cap. And now we'll take the staples out of the poly, and I use fairly thick poly here because it's stronger and gives me a better barrier. So a better backstop, better expansion, better just everything. So saran wrap does not cut it. You have to go with the thick stuff. And this is stuff that I salvage from mattress bags, furniture wrapping, wherever I can get it. And see how nicely that peels off? And it has expanded to the complete circumference of the hole, which again is very important. And that is very nice, nice and dense. And the nice thing about this foam too is that when it's done hardening in here, I can just peel it off and I can reuse this bucket. And same with getting it off of the paddle mixer, I can peel it off and reuse the mixer. Look at that, okay? Right to the edges. That's what I like to see. Just like with any multi-step process, this takes time. But thankfully, power tools are a wonderful thing, especially electric drills, because it makes coring out the target that much easier. It makes mixing the foam that much easier. Poly just peels off nicely. Yep. I think that's the rest of the staples. Nope, one more. There we go. So Now I just peel off the poly, peel it out of the crevices. See that? So it's nice that the finished product doesn't stick to this thick poly, so we can get it off. So I might reuse this poly on another target. So I can set that aside. And this is nice and dense. And it's still a little bit warm, which is perfect. So we'll just get rid of this excess here. A couple more staples in here, and this is quite nice. The density is already good. So I'm just going to shave off a bit on the perimeters here. And once this is all baked and hardened, and then shaping with the angle grinder, we'll get rid of these crevices from the poly. So shave a little bit more. Change my angle here a bit. Get rid of a little bit more of this excess. And yeah, it has, the density is nice. It should turn out very well. Just like slicing bread, be careful of your cutting angle. Doing this amount of rough cutting now so that when it comes time to shape and grind, I'm not having to grind away as much of this repair foam. And I'm getting under the creases in the repair foam where the poly had folded up, getting rid of them a little bit. There. So now this target is ready for the baking chamber. And like I said, with the density and the thickness of this target, he's going to need about 4 hours worth of baking to harden properly and set properly and finish the bonding to the older foam inside the consistency is pretty good. So I'm quite happy with that. All right. Now that rough cutting has been done, let's get rid of some of this foam on the interior of the backstop plate here, and see, it just comes off in one piece, which is nice because you don't have to scrape or dig. When it peels off like this, it's way easier to work with. And then I can reuse this end cap for backstop and another target. See, that's ready to use again. Now we'll see about the foam on the bucket here, if it can be just peeled off. It's still a little bit tacky, but it will peel off just nicely. See that? It will just peel off in one layer. So that way, I'm not wasting this bucket and I can reuse it. Okay, we'll give that bucket a little bit longer to harden and set. And we'll take this guy over to the baking chamber. So there's my baking chamber, 2 space heaters. So I'm going to get the target. Set that like that, and I'll get some wood to brace him.